The Green Bay Packers have had a quiet offseason so far, but that does not mean they will knock out the 2025 NFL draft out of the park. My name's Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we've got a 3-round mock draft for you here coming up for the Packers. Before we do that, let's do all the YouTube things. Subscribe, like, leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts on this mock draft and tackle that bell to get notified when videos come out. Ryan, let's pull up the slides here. So
Let's
Green
do
Bay
it.
Packers, one of the big areas I think that they need to address is going to be that secondary spot as well. They did get Xavier McKinney as well too. I know that was in last year's free agency. They have signed Nate Hobbs to a 4-year, $48 million deal. Jair Alexander is still one of the best corners in the league, in my opinion, when he is on the field. The issue is the past 2 years has him being on the field. So
Yeah.
I think as of right now, that's probably going to stay the case where he's going to be a Packer. But here, though, I think going and getting a guy like Jahdae Barron, I think is going to be one, he's just a really good corner. But two, I think he's a very versatile corner as well. We've seen him go outside, we've seen him go nickel, seen him move around in the safety room as well. I think he provides a lot of versatility for this Packers team, and the Packers, even as an organization, really likes guys that are versatile and can kind of be a chameleon when it comes to positional assignment.
Yeah. No, going through Jahdae Barron's scouting profile, it was really interesting because he was a free safety and he was did pretty well at free safety. And then in 2023, he moved into being like a slot corner. And then in 2024, he played outside mostly. And so he just did a really good job at all three spots. And so I think he brings a lot of versatility to an NFL defense. And I think he's going to go pretty high on April 24th. So I like what he does. And like, yeah, maybe he's only 5'11" and maybe he isn't like the best in like true press man coverage. But if you're a predominantly zone team, I think he'll be great for that system. So they could go with like a Nick Scorton and get much more of like a true edge presence. Nick Scorton at this point, I think, would be good value. If they do want the like press man, more physical corner, Trey Amos this is about where he will go. And if they want to get a disruptive defensive tackle, I think Walter Nolan is a good pick there. Derek Harmon went a couple picks before this, and so I feel like if he's there, that could also be a potential option.
Yeah.
But Jahdae Barron, I think, is really good value here for the Packers. So
Yeah, to me, I just think with one just how the Packers draft in general, but also then two, just looking at the skill position players on the offensive side of the ball, and then look at the needs. I think this is going to be either Jahdae Barron or it is going to be a defensive lineman that they like as well. Potentially could go linebacker, but as of right now, I just don't know who would be. I think this is too high for Demetrius Knight. If Jahad Campbell falls, I could see them going after him here. But so I think it's going to be on that defensive line side or probably Jahdae Barron just because of guys like that bring that versatility. So a couple different ways the Packers could go in this first round. But we'll kind of have to wait and see come draft night. I think when you look at their second round pick, though, I think it's going to be very interesting. I think whatever they do in the first round, then they're going to do the opposite of what I said there on the defensive side of the ball. So here we have them going Jack Sawyer, going edge rusher here. I think solid value for what he could bring. I think you like the leadership that Jack Sawyer brings. I think you like the motor that he would bring. He seems like a Green Bay Packer guy as well. Couple of deficiencies, but in general, though, I think that's why he falls to the second round. But I think something that maybe the Green Bay Packers can find and can hopefully maybe find a little diamond in the rough.
yeah, no, I mean character through the roof. I really like what he brings to the table. He's just not the greatest athlete. Like that's really his big drawback. Because I actually think technically, he's a pretty savvy edge rusher. He utilizes his tools pretty well. He has a decent set of pass rush moves, and like can drop back into coverage and make plays in big moments. We saw that in the Michigan game with the interception. So I like him a
Texas
lot.
game.
Wait,
Oh,
what?
well, and I guess Michigan too. He had an interception there also. So
Yeah. Oh,
I
well,
was
then he
thinking
had
that,
the strip sack return for a touchdown in the
yeah,
Texas
strip sack
game.
for the
Yeah.
touchdown. Yeah,
Yeah. That might be a slightly bigger moment, to propel you into the national championship.
that
But
would have been the one I would have used instead of the
yeah.
Michigan turnover in the game that they lost. But I get your point.
Yeah. But all in all, like uh, high high football character, he's just not the greatest athlete. And so I feel like potentially is what could hold him back and maybe cause him to fall maybe even more. If they want to go a different route, like they could go Siobhan Ravel if they don't get Jahdae Barron earlier. Deion Walker, I think, would be a really intriguing pick here. He went to Kansas City in about 12 picks, but just a developmental defensive lineman with a lot of really positive traits. And then Savion Williams, I think, would be another fun one with this wide receiver room and how they like to, as we say, receiver by committee.
Yeah.
So moving on now to their final pick here. We did go with a receiver. We went with Jalen Royals. I like the fit. I think he would be a good complement. Reminds me a little bit of Jaden Reed, but has a little bit more slot potential. Whereas I feel like Jaden Reed is more of like kind of their outside speed guy, and he's definitely the best receiver on that team. But you go look, they actually like Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Dobbs, Christian Watson. Hope he is able to come back this year, but those are all bigger guys, and then Jaden Reed is just a smaller, shiftier guy. And so let's throw another smaller, shiftier guy into that mix, and you can use him in a lot of different ways, Jalen Royals. And so
Yeah.
I think his best role is going to be in the slot, but he did play out wide at Utah State a decent bit, which felt a little out of position, but he was able to find ways to win out there. So I really like this pick for them.
I think Jalen Royals is like a quintessential like Green Bay Packers guy. One, when the Utah
Yeah,
State quarterback goes to Utah State, you kind of want that connection there. I think he does
actually
have
didn't
that
put it together.
versatility he does have that versatility to move around the offensive line. He could play outside, he could move him around on the inside. I think he's got the speed. Biggest thing too, he's injury prone, so I feel like that's like kind of a key factor for the Packers, especially too if you go look at the past couple of years as well. So which is not like I say that obviously jokingly. I don't want him to be injured, but it just does seem like they find these undrafted guys and then they're just able to plug and play them into the system as well, like on a week in, week out basis. And I think Jalen Royals has a lot of great talent. If he can't stay healthy, I think he would fit really well into this Matt LaFleur system. But I think his health is why he falls down to 87th here. And that's where I think Green Bay Packers are like, hey, this guy has a lot of potential here. Matt LaFleur, I think, would love to have him in that system, pair him up with Jaden Reed, pair him up with the speed of Christian Watson as well. Then you're still going to have guys like Romeo Dobbs or even Dontavian Wicks, guys that they've drafted in day 2 and day 3. So I think he'd fit in really well into this system and the talent that he would bring. Plus, maybe I don't know. I guess I know the Eagles are very specific on that with like drafting guys from the same school. I know it's just Utah State's not a perennial football prospect, but if maybe there is something there too. Is like, hey, your quarterback went to Utah State. Maybe there's something similar, like just that connection between the two. I think these two guys can relate, and maybe you can build that QB receiver connection there. So I still really like him. It's going to be interesting to see where he falls because I believe when you watch him on tape, you can make an argument of how he's one of the better day 2 receiving prospects. But there's just all those long-term injury history questions. I think that's going to make him fall behind guys like Ty Felton, behind guys like Jaden Higgins, or even Savion Williams or Jack Bash. So I think this is great value here overall, though, for the Packers.
Yeah, no, I like this pick. They could go with Jordan Burch, the edge rusher from Oregon, if they want a bigger, meatier edge rusher. Isaiah Bond, if they want like just a flat out speed threat. And Noah Williams, if they don't get a corner early on, that could be an option that they go. But the Packers are in an interesting spot. I not that I felt that they underperformed in 2024, but they didn't improve as much as I thought they would. Is I guess a better way to say it, because they still made the
Yeah.
playoffs. They did get bounced in the first round, but that happens every now and then. So like I want this team to improve. Uh, They have some questionable decisions, I think, with like Jair Alexander, or not questionable, but some upcoming decisions with Jair Alexander, this wide receiver room with Christian Watson, if they're going to extend him. And so I feel like this team is just kind of stuck in limbo right now because
Yeah.
this division is really good. They have some young talent. I don't think it's all come together yet for the Packers.
Well, so the big thing for last year, then, if you compare it to 2023, in 2023, everything did come together. They
Yeah.
were, even Christian Watson, I'm pretty sure, was healthy in the second half of that season when they made that run. And so the defense was playing well too. I mean, that offense was the only thing that could stop that Packers offense at 23 was themselves. And that's what happened in that 49ers playoff game. And so in
Yeah.
24, though, Jordan Love, pretty serious. Luckily, didn't break his ankle injury in week 1 down in Brazil. Kind of
Yeah.
throws everything out of funk there as well. You have injuries galore, I think, on both sides of the ball. So 2024 was just an odd year. I think just the fact that they made the playoffs was a great feat in and of itself. If this team stays healthy, I do still really like what they bring to the table. I think Matt LaFleur, I'm not really going to question his coaching style really, or how he can put the team together over a full long season, especially too after 2023. I think he's up there as one of the best coaches in the league. I think it's a great combo with him and Kevin O'Connell and the NFC North battling, because I think they're probably some of the best offensive minded, especially than 2 QB developing coaches as well. Actually, I said QB developing. I think you got to give it to Kevin O'Connell. I think Matt LaFleur is definitely still up there.
Yeah.
And so no offense to him. I think now with Ben Johnson going to the Bears, I think that's going to be extremely interesting overall on the offensive mind and prowess that he brings. And then Dan Campbell, I don't know a football fan who wouldn't want to run through a brick wall for Dan Campbell. You just go and see his speeches. I take that back. I'm sure people are going to comment, especially on the Packers, being like, "I hate Dan
Yeah.
Campbell." So I get it. That's beside my point, though.
Yeah.
I think he's just a great leader overall.
There's no non-biased person in the NFL.
Yeah, I know. That's a great point. But it's interesting, though, too, if you just go look at the overall football knowledge and especially, I guess, offensive minded that comes to that comes to play when it comes to the NFC North coaches. Dan Campbell is by far like low
Oh.
A, single A, like quality. I
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
when it comes to that, but he just gets the most out of his players. So I think when it comes to the Packers overall, though, I think they're in a great spot when it comes. Matt LaFleur has been there for a long time. He's got a great system overall. Packers as an organization, I think they're going to make the right moves. It's not going to be the most popular moves, but I think long term though they have a good system. So it's going to be interesting on how they approach the 2025 draft here, because I still think they're a playoff team. I guess I could see if things fall in order, and if they get some luck when it comes to the injury bug, they could be one of the top teams in the NFC next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, I think it's really just gonna come down to when this team gets hot. Because if they go through that stretch where they did 2 years ago, where they got hot at the end of the year and went in the
Yeah.
playoffs, just absolutely steamrolled Dallas, I think that they could do that to just about anybody. But at the flip side of that, I could also see them getting bounced in the first round again, like fairly easily, or maybe even barely missing it off of tiebreakers. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a fun 2025 for the Green Bay Packers. Let's go ahead. Let's wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. While you're down there, leave a comment on what you thought of this Packers 3-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you have done differently? On that, we'll see you guys next time.